guys, I'm Chuck, and those are my Charlie cards. And these right here, these are my fancy Charlie chips. In the town I live in, we have a happy face mowed right into the side of a hill. That's why this is Happy Face Holdem. The goal, log 500 hours of 2-3 no limit Holdem and have more Charlie chips at the end of the session than we started with. Let's get into the action. Hey guys, welcome back to the vlog. This is vlog number 8 from Happy Face Holdem, where I show you part 2 of the session I played up at Chumash Indian Casino in Santa Ynez, California. Bringing this little intro to you from one of my favorite places in the whole world right now, my swimming pool. Well, the community pool. It's not mine. We just borrow it, and I spend a lot of time here. My wife and I come out here every day. 1 to 3 hours we'll float around. And this is actually where I study my game most often. I read books, I watch vlogs, I review my own vlogs. So anyway, speaking of reviewing my own vlogs, if you like this video or any of my videos, I appreciate you smashing that thumbs up button down there, hitting subscribe, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you're notified as soon as I drop new content. Hitting that like button really helps the channel out greatly, gets the word out there, helps us show up in searches, and I just greatly appreciate it and can't thank you enough. For those of you that have subscribed. I can't believe that we're over 100 already, quickly approaching 200 subscribers, and I think no doubt on my way to 1,000 subscribers. With all that being said, I promised you some bomb pots, so I want to get started with those. Today I'm going to show you a couple bomb pot hands, and then I'll get back into the rest of the session. I really appreciate the comments and the feedback on how you guys play again. Reviewing my play, I think it helps me reanalyze what I'm doing and helps me grow as a player. I am at 208 hours on my journey to log 500 hours. And I'm not doing as good as I had hoped I would do, just keeping it real here. At my hometown room that's been closed since the pandemic started, I'm well up over 30 blinds an hour win rate with most of my hours logged there. The bicycle casino in Los Angeles crushed me, and my little run at Venetian didn't go so well either. So nice to be back on the upswing. I hope to keep this going. Don't know if I'll be returning to Chumash, just waiting for Ventura to open, and headed back to Vegas late September. So let's get right into the session. All right, getting started with one of the first bomb pots of the night. We have 5 players in. Think Blue, he had to go take a leak, and we were missing 1 player from the table. I'm sitting in under the gun 2 when I look down at Ace-7 offsuit, and the flop comes down, giving us top and bottom. This is a bomb pot, and a lot of players will play pretty wacky in these things, so I just put together a small bet of $35 and slide it across the line. Unfortunately though, nobody wants to come along and play this one. I guess nobody hit anything on this flop, so the action is going to fold around to me. I'm going to take this first bomb pot down and the obligatory show the hand. We were doing that during the bomb pots every 30 minutes on the dealer change tonight. Moving on to the next hand, I'm in the cutoff, and this is a straddled pot, and I look down at Ace-Deuce suited, so I'd make just a very small raise to $15. The action's going to fold around to the table back to the original straddler. He's going to take a good close look at his cards, think about it for a minute, and put in the extra $9. We're going to go heads up to a flop with $35 in the pot. The flop comes down Ace-Deuce-6 rainbow, giving me a bottom pair. The first player, he leans in to take a good close look at those cards. He is having a hard time seeing the cards, and he elects to check. This gives me the opportunity with my bottom pair to assemble a bet and slide across $25. He decides there's nothing worth playing for after looking at his cards one more time, throws them in the muck, and we're going to take down this little pot as the night continues. All right, moving along to the next one. I'm under the gun. I look down at Pocket Rockets. This is only about the 4th time that I've had these tonight, and they've held every time. So I opened at $20. The action's going to fold around to the blinds, and I'm going to get a call from both the small blind and the big blind. We're going to go 3 ways to a flop with $60 in the middle, praying that my Rockets will hold up one more time tonight. We see the flop come down, Jack, 4, 5, with 2 diamonds on the board. So I have the blocker to the nut flush, so I'm not too concerned about this at the moment. It's the small blind's turn to act, and this one blows me away. He donk leads for $40. That's a pretty hefty donk lead. But what's even more impressive in this hand is the big blind calls the 40, leaving 100 in the pot. So both these players obviously love their hands. There's only one option that I have here. How do I get stacks in on this bet? I elect to bump it up to $100, so it's only 60 more for the small and big blind to call each. I'm hoping that's going to get the job done. So this is essentially just a min raise into 2 players on this flop. I want to bloat this pot. That's my goal right here. I want to keep at least one of them in, but ideally I want to keep both of them in. Is that possible with just a $100 bet? Well, the small blind, he obliges and he's going to come along for the ride. The big blind, after thinking about this, he decides he didn't like the donk bet from the small blind and he elects to muck. So we go to the turn, which brings the 5 of clubs. The small blind reaches back for some chips, counts them, and then elects to check. I saw this play earlier in the night and he held the goods. So I only have one option now. I'm going to jam. I have 235 behind and it's only a $300 pot. I like to play. I don't think betting any less is going to keep him in. I guess it is possible I could bet a little smaller for some thin value. But because he checked after counting his chips, I thought for certain that he was going to make the call. He elects the muck and we're going to take down a nice little pot. All right, another mid-session update. I'm back up to about 540, so doing okay, making a comeback. You can't take a break here. If you miss a blind, they pick your chips up. So I just asked the waitress if she'll bring me a protein bar because I'm hungry. Let's see, it's about 6:15. I've been playing since about 2:45, so about 3.5 hours. Feeling all right, feeling good right now. All right, back from a quick little break. Good thing I didn't need to pitch a loaf, huh? I don't have my protein bar yet. I'm utterly starving at this point because you can't take a break to go eat. So I'm in under the gun 2. I look down at suited 1 gapper, 5-7 of diamonds. I open to 15. As the action moves around the table, I'm going to pick up 3 guests to go to a pot 4-way with $60 in the pot. All right, this flop comes down 9, king, 8 with 2 clubs on the board. A little bit connected. I flop a gutter and a backdoor flush. The small blind elects to check. The big blind assembles a bet for $20. Action folds back around to the small blind, who's our player who likes to think. And he thinks and he thinks and he thinks before he elects to put in a raise. He does elect to put in a bet for $60. The player after him comes along for the ride with the call. And I'm thinking with my gutter ball to the straight, my backdoor flush draw, and only $40 to call, 6-1 on my money, it's a no-brainer here. So I do elect to make the call, and we're going to go 3 ways to the turn with 240 in this pot. So the turn comes down a 9 of hearts, pairing the board. Both players ahead of me decide to check. I'm happy to check back because I'm still on a draw. I'm thinking that somebody's got a flush draw here, and somebody's got a weak king. It's unlikely that somebody has a 9 in their holding. However, the big blind, he slowed played a couple times tonight. So the river comes down the miracle 6 of hearts, completing my straight. Now, I'm not quite sure I have the best hand because we do have a paired board out there. But the small blind puts out a bet for $50. This seems very small, almost feeler bettish to me with 240 in the pot. So when the big blind elects to only call 50, leaving 340 in the pot, I replay the hand in my head. So a king on the flop, we get a bet. When the turn pairs the board, the action checks through. We have a feeler bet on the river, with the second player to act just calling and not putting in a raise. I'm pretty certain at this point that the small blind has a weak king and the big blind has the 9. When the turn came down, he did reach for chips before he checked, and as I mentioned, he slow played a couple times tonight. All right, with the action back to the small blind, he's our thinker. Yeah, you guessed it. He's gonna slow us down yet again tonight. This guy just cannot make a decision if his life depended on it. I mean, I'm happy he's in the tank. I didn't get snapped, so that's good. So yeah, about a minute later, he decides to go ahead and throw his cards in the muck. Well, I guess a minute wasn't quite long enough. It takes the big blind just a little bit longer to think what he wants to do. and I'm happy when he wants to put in the extra 100. I flip over my straight and give him the bad news. And we're going to take down a nice little pot here tonight. This definitely has us up in the black. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves another bomb pot. So we have all 7 players in on this one at $15 each. That's $105 of dead money out in the middle. And I love these bomb pots, and I'm pretty excited that everybody was willing to play along tonight. And better yet, I'm sitting on the button. So the flop comes down Queen Jack 8 with 2 hearts. Wow, pretty wet, pretty connected. I look down and I have offsuit King Queen. So I hit top pair, but look, 9-10 gets there, and anybody with 2 hearts is staying in this. So with the action checks around to me, I put in a bet for $55. So kind of as I expected, I'd get some players behind me to come in for the ride. It takes just a little bit for the action to get all the way around the table, and 3 players decide to make the call. So we're going to go 4 ways in this bomb pot to see the turn. I like my top pair. Got a decent kicker, but again, that's a wet and coordinated board out there. With such a coordinated board and the flush draw out there, 9-10 would definitely have to be putting in a raise here. So when the action makes it around and that doesn't happen, and everybody's just flat called, that makes me feel a little bit better about my top pair. Hey, as long as I can avoid a heart on the turn, I think we're gonna make a play here. Sure enough, we avoid a heart, and the turn comes down to 3 clubs. Action checks around to me. I'm in position, so I'm going to put out a bet of $100. Looking back at this, I don't like this bet. I think I needed to make it a lot bigger. As you can see, the last player to act, the player to my right over here, he thinks about this for a long time. And I'm just lucky I got this one through. He lays his hand down. We take down this nice bomb pot. Well, it's been an exciting run tonight. So let's take a look at 4 more hands, including 1 more bomb pot. That's going to be the last hand we're going to take a look at. All right, so like 10, 15 minutes later, when I'm done stacking up all those bomb pot chips, I finally get myself into another hand. The hijack opens this one for 20, and the small blind eventually decides that he's going to come along and play in this pot too. So in the big blind, I look down at ace-king offsuit, and this is a perfect opportunity to squeeze. So I finally settle on a 3-bet at $75, almost a 4x re-raise. Coming from the big blind, this should scream strength. And it does. I mean, ace-king offsuit. I've been opening a lot of hands. I've been 3-betting a lot of hands. But for the most part, I'm only going to showdown with the strongest. I think that's my perception at the table right now. After considerable thought, the young lad in the hijack, he decides to make the call. And no doubt, the small blind's going to defend. This will get interesting. Alright, so we're going to go 3 ways to this flop with 228 in the middle. And we're going to battle it out to see who's going to get this pile of chips. And no doubt, a battle is about to ensue. So after the dealer gets his affairs in order, we finally get to see a flop. And this one comes down a dynamic 5-4 ace with 2 spades on the board. It's pretty wet out there on that flop. After the small blind checks to me, I put in a little bit of thought, and I'm going to bet this one out at $100. A little less than half the pot. With 2 spades on the board, makes me a little nervous, but I got top. What do I have to worry about? There's also a wheel draw out there. Yeah, maybe I do have a little bit to be worried about. But I also want to figure out how I can get 3 streets of value out of this hand. The good news, the hijack's going to call. The bad news, the small blind, he snap jams. I mean, this guy doesn't even think a half a second about it. This guy, by the way, Stephen Clark, aka Think Blue Poker. He vlogged this hand. Check it out over there. I'll put a card up top. So he's in for $291. There's 719 in the middle, and this is a familiar spot. Earlier in the session, he check jammed when he flopped a set. Did he flop another set on me here? Well, with top, there's not a whole lot I can do. I want to get the hijack out of the hand, so I rejam. $700 effective. That gets the job done. The hijack's going to lay it down, and we're going to flip our hands over. King 7 defended for 75 pre-flop? WTF. I'd probably jam suited on that flop too. But King 7 defended to a 3-bet, 75 pre-flop. The poker gods give us a 4 of diamonds on the turn. Let me just fade a spade on the river. Yep, not so lucky river. Not going to take this one down. And I'm going to be pushing my Charlie chips in the wrong direction on this one. Nice big pot. Sorry I lost that one. I did consult the book, and I'm right. He shouldn't have played King 7. But that's okay. Do me a favor, leave me a comment. Would you have played my hand any different? Anything I could have done to lose less? Okay, so back to happier times. We're in for another bomb pot. This one's only going to be 6-handed. Somebody stepped away from the table, and the flop's going to come down Jack, 6, Deuce, Rainbow. I look down at Queen 5. Yeah, maybe not happier times. So the hijack, he decides to put in a bet for 40 on this one. As the action moves around to me, I double check my cards just in case they changed. Still Queen 5 offsuit. Not much I can do but to let this one go. Alright, here's an interesting one for you guys. Never get emotional at the poker table. And here's a good example why. I'm sitting in the cutoff when I look down at 10-9 offsuit. I open the action to $15. The big blind makes the call for 15. And under the gun's going to come along for the ride also. We're going to go 3 ways to a flop with 47 in the pot. The flop's going to come down Ace, Jack, 8. Ooh, I flopped open-ended, but pretty wet board. Flush draw out there. The action checks to me, and I lead out for $25. I probably should have just checked here. I was the initial raiser, but with what I'm holding, this likely hit their range better than mine. So the big blind, he's going to muck, and under the gun, he decides to jam. He's going all in. So I asked the dealer to give me a count. It's only $64 more. 64 to get 224. All right, I'm in. I make the call. Runner, runner, brick, brick. I totally miss. Let's listen to what happens.
I called you.
You went all in, great.
Well, rather than show his hand, he throws him into the muck. He was pretty emotional. So maybe he had a baby flush, 7-8 or 8-9 of hearts, and missed. Is my 10 high really good? Well, I'll just call this free money, and we'll move on to the next hand. Next hand with the same guy. He's sitting in the cutoff, and he limps in. The button, he 3-bets this pot to $15. I'm sitting in the big blind, and I look down at red pocket nines. There hasn't been a lot of 4-betting in this game, so this is a great opportunity. I bump it up to 45. The gentleman from that last hand who's in the cutoff, he decides to make the call. And in this hand, our thinker, the thinker I've been talking about for the last 2 vlogs, he's sitting in the button over here. He thinks, and he thinks, and he thinks, but he finally makes the call. So we're going to go 3 ways to see a flop. So the flop comes down 7-5 tray with 2 hearts on the board. Pretty favorable. I hold an overpair to the flop. I like that. Now how much am I going to bet here to extract the most value on the next 2 streets? So I assemble a bet and slide 65 across. While I sit here and work on my much needed chip shuffling skills, the cutoff over there, he's assembling a bet. He opts to jam for about $240. Did I just run into another set? His all-in is a little more than the size of the pot. The next player mucks, and without much hesitation, I'm thinking somebody on a draw is going to make the same move, so I throw in a chip signifying a call. Turn comes a 9 of clubs, giving me a set, and the river's a king. Well, it turns out the poker gods read the book about that King 7 hand. They make it up to me on this one. Yeah, my opponent here, he flopped a set of 7s. So the turn saved me, and I'm going to take down this massive $600 pot. Alright, last hand of review for this vlog. It's another bomb pot, baby. We're 7 ways with $105 of dead money in the middle. The flop comes down 9, deuce, ace with 2 spades on the board. The player ahead of me, he leads out for $30. I look down at my hand, 9, 6, offsuit. Middle pair. I consider a raise here just to put the pressure on. But I'm thinking if I sense any weakness on later streets, I can flat call here and make a move later to pull this pot down. So I'm going to be paying close attention. I decided to make the call for 30, and I'm going to watch later streets and see where I can put a move on. I think that's the right play right here. Do you agree? Let me know down there in the comments. After some long deliberation in his own head, the hijack ultimately decides to make the call, also for $30. We're going to go to a turn 3 ways with $195 in this pot. The dealer throws down a 2 of diamonds on the turn. I like this turn card. It pairs the board. The player ahead of me showed me the weakness I was looking for. He elects to check. The player to act after me, with all the deliberation he did before this turn card, I'm thinking he just missed his flush draw. So this is my opportunity. So I consider what I'm going to bet here, and I elect to go with $75. A little bit on the bit smaller side compared to what I've been doing. I'm thinking if the hijack is on a flush draw and he missed it as I suspect, he might want to draw to another card. So I have an opportunity to continue to build this pot. And the way he's thinking about it again just confirms my theory that he's on a flush draw. He ultimately makes the call. I do consider the possibility that either one of these players holds an ace. You know, but in a bomb pot, a deuce could easily be in my holding. So I'm repping trips, even though I have middle pair, well now 2 pair. So after the other player to my right elects to muck, I think I'm back on flush draw for the hijack or a very weak ace. So when the river comes down to 6 of clubs, ultimately looking like it gives me 2 pair, it still doesn't beat an ace holding 2 pair. Aces and deuces beats my 9s and 6s. But I'm going to keep the pressure on, and I slide a bet out there for $125. And as suspected, missed flush draw. Great bet on the end. Wasn't going to get any value no matter what I bet. And I'm going to take down another bomb pot. All right, 6.5 hours. It's time to rack up, take this win, and face the 2-hour drive home. All right, guys, so session's over. We took a look at all those hands. I'm really happy with the way I played. I talked about where I misstepped in a couple hands. I really liked my pre-flop range and aggression tonight. I flatted just a couple hands, like literally a couple. I think two hands I flat called. Some other pre-flop raises, but I wanted to make sure that my hands tonight, that I opened everything with a raise, or that my hands were in my 3-bet range. So I think it went really well. Had Steven not sucked out on me, calling me 3-bet $75 with King 7 suited pre-flop, and then suck out on the river, make his flush, I would have been up another $400 or $500. So anyways, nice to get a cash for $420 tonight, in for 6, out for $10.20. Really happy about that. Nice to capture a win on the vlog. What I didn't mention, I think I don't think I mentioned it, we had a power outage tonight. Lasted, I don't know, 30 or 40 seconds. It was kind of crazy though. The whole place went dark. Backup generators didn't kick in for quite some time. So anyways, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Please like this video. It really helps out the channel a ton. Thanks for all the subscribers, up over 150 now. It just kind of exploded. So on my run to 1,000 subscribers now. You know, like the video, subscribe, hit the little bell, the little notification, so you get notified when I have new content come out. And I greatly appreciate you guys being here, and I love reading your comments. All right, until next time, guys.